Hey friends, thanks for stopping by the channel, and for those of you that have visited my Lame Beaver channel and watched the shooting videos I've done and recognized how at that time how brown the ground was, and now it's absolutely green. And this is what 3 inches of rain in 1 week will do. So it's an absolutely gorgeous area right now with everything green. I've had to go out and mow already, so it's been quite the busy week. But I want to talk about a few things that have been going on for the benefit of our subscribers that are not on Twitter, for those that are not on Facebook, or any other ex-Jehovah's Witness group. And I feel that it's important to do this so that we can all recognize what's going on within the community. And before I get into a certain aspect of it, I want to just make a couple of acknowledgments of those ex-JWs that are taking the time to do what I can no longer do, sit and watch the garbage during the convention. I just can't do it no more, friends, because it's so obvious, and I'm gonna point something out that should have been obvious to everybody, but maybe putting this back into the ether, it might become more obvious. Now, Kim has done, let me just give the acknowledgement first. JW Thoughts, thank you for doing what I can't do no more and showing clips of my favorite little clown, Let. Also, Wally with JW Thoughts, thank you for doing it, because I just can't stand to watch these guys no more, because it's so painfully obvious what's going on here. So with that being said, let me just backtrack just a little bit here. And when Kim and I first started this channel, and when Watchtower specifically did the overlapping generation nonsense, I knew at that time that Watchtower was going to have to move to be a more mainstream Christian religion. And because of that 501c3, they have to take a whole different approach regarding the LGBTQ community and kind of like soften that a little bit, which is what we saw and observed, or at least what I saw Wally putting out there, because that's what they have to do. They have no choice. Number one reason why is because 1914 utterly failed. It failed for Watchtower. So in order for them to maintain the business relationship with Mother, the Catholic Church, they now have to change their stance. With that being said, I want to refer back to Let making that BS statement about children are an enemy of God. And I'm glad that I didn't sit down with Kim at the time and do that video that she did, because it was just abhorrent that Let even let something like that fly out of his mouth. But at the same time, I had a conversation with Jane Doe, and she actually brought this up to me, and it's like, wait a minute, maybe, just maybe, this might be the direction, as opposed to blanketly or blatantly saying children are an enemy of God. And I want to thank her for that, because it really caused me to think in a different direction, and I do appreciate that. What she mentioned is that what she feels, and I do kind of agree, that Watchtower is setting up their authority, or implanting in the psyche of these children being baptized as infants, baby baptism, child baptism, infant baptism. Because in mainstream Christianity, how are you saved? Well, have you accepted Jesus? Well, if you haven't accepted Jesus, you ain't saved. Well, how do I get saved? Well, you got to get baptized. You got to get baptized. Well, we all know that it's a common practice of Catholicism to do infant baptism, which is a mark of that child's soul being saved, isn't it? So that was a good thought, and I'm kind of anxious to see how this is really going to play out in the long term, because it's not so much as the governing body giving their okay or their permission to do infant baptism, but the seed has already been planted in the minds of Jehovah's Witnesses that just have children in here, and let's say, well, these children are an enemy of God. Well, I better save my child from Armageddon. I better save my child, so I'm going to get my infant baptized. Watchtower's not going to disapprove of that. They're just simply not going to do that. One of the reasons being, going back to the organization book. Look how many times they've had to come out with a new organization book, because every time something like this gets challenged in a court of law, Watchtower has to change direction. And guess what, friends? I've been saying this for 9-10 years already, because that 501c3 does not make them a free church of Christ. It just doesn't do that. But another point that I want to make, for me at least, is it's so painfully obvious that when Watchtower names this propagandist bullshit over the summer convention, Pursue Peace, and they're trying to equate Jehovah as being a God who loves peace, the great peacemaker. That's an outright lie. And I can even use the New World Trash translation to prove it. Go to 2 Samuel, chapter 12. Now, Kim mentioned this in her video, how God, Yahweh, Jehovah, or if you're a Trinitarian, Jesus, struck that baby a blow. The New World Translation says, proceeded to deal a blow. The King James Version says, God struck the baby. Either way, whether you use the word deal a blow or struck the child, either way, God facilitated this child's death. God did this. Okay? So, I'm going to start with verse 15, 2 Samuel chapter 12. Thus Nathan went to his own house, and Jehovah proceeded to deal a blow to the child that the wife of Uriah had borne to David, so that it took sick. God made that baby sick. God did this. And if you're a Trinitarian, Jesus did this. And when Jesus said, bring the little children to me, let the children come so that I can instruct them, then why didn't Jesus stop Yahweh from striking David's baby? I go on. And David began to seek the true God in behalf of the boy. And David went on a strict fast and came in and spent the night and laid down on the earth. David's full of pain right now that God struck that child a blow, so that God made it sick. But here's David. He's doing everything that he knows in his power to soften Jehovah's heart, so that Jehovah will undo the curse of striking that baby. Verse 17, so the older men of his house stood up over him to raise him up from the earth, but he did not consent and did not take bread in company with them. And it came about on the 7th day that the child gradually died. Oh, so Jehovah didn't make peace with David over that child? Jehovah did not make peace. He took peace away. In fact, he even let David mourn on the ground. Jehovah did that. Watchtower. See, for me, this is so painfully obvious that your God Jehovah is not a peacemaker. But here's my other issue. If Jesus is the Son of God, and Jesus says, bring the children to me, bring the children to me. But yet in this situation, Jesus stood idly by while his father Yahweh struck that baby a blow so that it died 7 days later. Let that sink in, friends, because it's just this painfully obvious. It's that painfully obvious. The biggest problem is what we call being disconnected from truth and reality. That's something that we use in this community a lot. Being disconnected from truth and reality, even when it's blatantly put in your face. Here's another thing that's blatantly a disconnect. We all know that Lloyd Evans got caught doing something that a lot of people, even atheists, would consider immoral, unethical, and that was confessing to his Thailand excursion and purchasing prostitutes, not just in Thailand, but he also confessed to doing it for multiple years, multiple occasions, and he even admitted it in his book, The Reluctant Apostate. Masturbating to porn. He even talked about in his book how he went to the elders training school, and he was so hot and bothered by the sister serving him food, he had to go to into the shower that night and masturbate with little Lloyd. I find it extremely disconcerting. I find it extremely, we talk about the disconnect. We talk about the disconnect. I just showed the disconnect right out of the New World Trash Translation. God struck that. Oh no, God didn't do that. They'll always find another reason to disconnect from what you're telling, the truth in reality. So, I want to talk about a couple of Twitter posts that Lloyd Evans did. Once again, this is so that those of you that are not on Twitter, you can see exactly what this sociopath, this narcissistic sociopath propagandist does. And I want you to see the disconnect. You cannot be talking about your family members having this disconnect when the same disconnect is right here in front of you, and a lot of you still applaud that man, Lloyd Evans. Okay, going back a few days now, Tom Cruise, yes, Top Gun Tom Cruise, Scientologist Tom Cruise, made a post on Twitter. This is what Tom Cruise said. To all the films in release, to all the studios, and to all the exhibitors, congratulations. To the audience, thank you for venturing out and allowing us to entertain you. See you at the movies. Real good post. Thanking the audience. Okay, thanking his patrons. Now, right after that post, here comes Lloyd Evans. Yes, that Lloyd Evans, Mr. Thailand man himself, who confessed to using and engaging with sex workers, prostitutions. This is what Lloyd Evans says. Now, bear in mind, friends, and I'll qualify this. Well, better yet, I'll qualify it first so that you can see exactly how he's manipulating an unawares audience. We're all familiar with the Theocratic Ministry School. I know they don't use it no more, but in my day, Thursday nights, we were assigned a 5-minute talk, and you were given a counsel slip, and you had points of counsel to work on. And despite what any elder will say, they are trained to look for flaws. They are trained to look for defects, no matter what they perceive the defect to be. Now, those of you that have been with this channel for a long time, you know that I talk emphatically with my hands. I always do, and I've always done that. So when it comes to gestures, I've never had a problem getting a G on gestures. Well, I gave this talk one night, and it was a number 4 talk, I think it was, number 5. I got to stop and think, because at one point they did away with the number 5. But anyhow, they had an hour full of wasted airspace to fill. So anyhow, while I'm giving my talk, and I was working on a couple of different council points, and I don't remember specifically, because what happened when I sat down overshadowed the council points that I was working on. During that talk, a couple of times, I did this to the audience. I was gesturing, just a natural gesture like I'm, doing now. Just, I did what came natural. So I sat back down, and the elder said, Brother Brooks, you did a really good job on this talk. I really appreciate your enthusiasm. However, it was that he tried to make me buy the bullshit. But then he says, but, I'm going to have you work on gestures next, because I thought you pointed the finger all too often. Oh. So instead of praising the whole entire talk, you built up my ego. Good job. But you sucked at pointing the finger. That's how these men are trained, and that's how they steal your mind away from you. You don't praise a person, then turn around and tell them that you sucked at gestures because you pointed the finger one too many times. Or, Brother Brooks, you need to calm down because your voice is showing that you're over enthusiastic, like I am right now in front of this camera. Oh, I loved your content, Brother Brooks, but man, you're just so hard to take because your enthusiasm is just off the charts. But if you came out of a Baptist church, when this is all they heard all the time, you wouldn't find anything wrong with it. But the culture we came from doesn't allow that type of speech. Doesn't allow you to use your full emotions in talking. Okay, so now this is what Lloyd does when he goes after Tom Cruise. He does the exact same thing that he does, that he was trained to do as an elder. Listen, because I've actually got 2 examples, okay? This is what Lloyd says after Tom Cruise thanked the audience for venturing out and seeing the movies. Lloyd Evans comes back and says, I'm glad people are entertained by your films. Good job, Tom Cruise. Good job, boy. I am so glad that you see how he starts it off? Just like a Jehovah elder. Just like a Jehovah elder that he is. Life can be cruel, and we need distraction and escapism from our troubles. I just wish your on-screen, in parentheses, good guy persona were matched in real life, where you have cast yourself as a cog in the leadership apparatus of an abusive cult. Speaking about Scientology. Really, Lloyd? How are you not a cog in the ex-Jehovah Witness community? Because everything that we've tried to do, not me and Kim, but the community as a whole, to try to move forward and bring more exposure to Watchtower, you have been there. My split with aggressive activism. And then you get others of the Lloydvidians, like, I don't know, somebody to go over there on XJW Reddit, like, Mark O'Donnell, say, oh, Mike and Kim, they're just simpletons. How are you not the cog in what we're doing to try to expose Watchtower? But my brilliant wife. Now, I know Lloyd Evans somewhere along the way is going to be saying, yep, see, I'm right. They're stalking me. Well, no, you're stalking Tom Cruise, dude. You're stalking because you have lost so many patrons, you have lost so many views on your channel that you now have to go elsewhere to try to push your bullshit to get your numbers back up. I see the mechanism. I see the mechanism, and you're using the Jehovah's Witness theocratic language. I'm glad people are entertained by your films. Life can be cruel and we need distraction and escapism from our troubles. I wish your on-screen persona would match in real life, where you have cast yourself as a cog in the leadership apparatus of an abusive cult. How dare, Lloyd, you point the finger at Tom Cruise when you have a confession to using prostitutes in Thailand and other points of interest in this world. Now, my wife come back and totally debunked Lloyd Evans. This is what Kim quoted, and this is what Kim stated, and she also addressed it to Tom Cruise, at Tom Cruise and Cedar's JW survey. This is what my wife, and Lloyd, we're not stalking you. We just happen to be on the same Twitter accounts. Nobody's stalking anybody, so stop using bullshit words into making everybody think that you're the great and mighty. You're not. Going on, this is what my wife said. I wonder how at Tom Cruise would feel if he knew about at Cedar's JW survey dates with prostitutes. Don't point the finger at someone when you have three pointing back at you, Lloydie. Now, what I don't have here is another post on Twitter that Kim, my wife, did to at Leah Remini, so that she now knows, despite the evidence that was sent to her and her producers before she did her broadcast regarding Jehovah's Witnesses in Scientology, you know, that Lloyd was an eager participant. Yeah, he was eager to participate, but what he didn't tell the producers and Leah Remini, that he was screwing prostitutes on points of interest on this planet. Hey, Leah Remini, I bet you wish you'd have listened to some people that were giving you evidence of what this man's behavior, because you know what? This behavior flushes that program right down the toilet. It has zero effect now. Zero effect. Now, here's another one. Same thing. We're all very well aware of the episodes that the Telegraph is doing about Watchtower. And this really has upset a lot of people in this community. Because I will tell you, friends, since June 1st, we have gotten 300 emails that are Watchtower and or Jehovah and or ex-Jehovah Witness related. Think about the amount of work that Kim is doing trying to get these emails answered once again. Because every time some bull crap like Watchtower comes out and says, oh, the child is an enemy of God. The child is an enemy of God. What Watchtower doesn't recognize, hey, you paying attention? One of those emails came from a congregation in Germany that when they were sitting in their hall listening to that, you know what they did? They shut that video down and they all left the Kingdom Hall. You just don't see the results of your actions. You don't think far enough ahead before you put something like that in a program, because you're short-sighted, just like Lloyd Evans, one and the same. Okay, so going back to the Telegraph, okay, after something was posted on YouTube about the Telegraph's episode on September 2nd, Lloyd Evans comes out and says, and he actually posted this July 1st, Lloyd Evans, as superb as the Telegraph piece is, then he puts in parentheses, as if it stands aside, it stands alone, in parentheses or brackets, Lloyd goes, and I was honored to assist the investigation. Ends, closes the brackets. Why did you have to set that aside in this post, Lloyd? Why did you have to bring all of this attention into your laps like you're the great and mighty one? Do you people see? Once again, it's Jehovahism. This guy cannot break the Jehovah language. As superb. Look at that word. As superb. Brother Brooks, you did a superb job. Here comes the but. I can't help but feel dread that it will be met with yet more inaction. Here's my literary talking about here's my literary talking about the secret database at the BBC News last year. Nobody does anything. So what you did is you say, as superb, but I feel dread that nothing will happen. Oh, by the way, go back and watch, and he leaves a link to his interview with the BBC where he allegedly is exposing his viewpoint on the Watchtower database during CSA, but that whole thing was nothing more than this guy pushing his book, The Reluctant Apostate. It was nothing more than him being a propagandist for his book, The Reluctant Apostate. You guys see how this man is absolutely controlling your mind with Jehovah talking points? He's using the same thing right here that these elders used on all of us during the theocratic ministry school. Wake up. Because it's just this painfully obvious. Now here's something else that's painfully obvious. So having found the appropriate spot to insert the following two texts, it goes on. Apparently, Lloyd's stalking a Jordan Peterson who's a psychologist. I'm not sure what this Jordan Peterson had actually posted, but Lloyd found it necessary to follow his post with this. We're all assholes at times, but to proudly and stubbornly insist on being an asshole is something else. Really, Lloyd? Really? You are stubbornly insisting on being an asshole when it comes to the Magnificent Seven, aren't you? You are stubbornly being an asshole. So the very thing that you're accusing Jordan Peterson of doing, you yourself employ it and practice it. But Kim goes on and follows up with this right after Lloydy Boy with 3 shocked face emojis at Lloyd Evans. Really posted this? JP is a psychologist. Sounds like he's just like Lloydy. I guess Lloydy doesn't see himself as an asshole. Now, there's one more post. This is at Lloyd Evans. It's from a Johnny Rogers. I'm not putting anything out here that's not already in public view. But this is what Johnny Rogers writes at Lloyd Evans. This fucking creep's not going to shut the fuck up, is he? No, he's not. No matter the detail, he should not be left free to publicly tweet about CSA, given his twisted morals and duplicitous behavior. In other words, he's living a double life. He goes on, then there's either the stupid, fixated, or willfully naive who actually went and liked it. Regarding the Magnificent Seven, this is painfully obvious. See, since Lloyd's confession to using multiple prostitutes over a length of time at different points of interest on this earth, he became utterly embarrassed. And he embarrassed this community. So what the community did is they quit watching. At least a larger number of XJWs have quit watching his videos, because now the man's an absolute hypocrite. He has no freeness of speech. Zero freeness of speech on abusing either women, CSA. He doesn't even have the freeness of speech to make a post to Tom Cruise. How do I know? Because my wife pointed that out. He has no freeness of speech. Now, what happened is when he did that confession, he asked us to adjudicate. Well, we all gave our opinions, we all gave our points of views. Kim and I have not hidden our opinion and our point of views for 10 years, what this guy has been doing in this community. He's still using Watchtower tactics because your mind is still open and receptive to it, because you don't have control. Lloyd's controlling it. Now, this is what he's done, and this, of course, is just my opinion. Let that statement stand on its own. Because his confession has utterly destroyed him, he's lost almost half of his patrons, so his money is gone. You know, and I can't even begin to fathom why anybody would now join his channel as a patron and support this guy. I just can't comprehend it, because it's painfully obvious. But here's the thing. Because he has been relegated as a criminal morally wise, he has to make damn sure that he has to criminalize what is now the Magnificent Seven, because once, if it happens, once we get a criminal judgment against us, then in Lloyd's mind, and in the minds of Branch Lloydvidians, and I know they're there because I've seen the post, oh Lloyd, I hope you win. I hope you win, Lloyd. I'm so sorry that you're having to go through this. They're out there, but you see, in those folks' minds, in their minds, and especially in Lloyd's mind, especially in Lloyd's mind, he has to mentally get a legal criminal charge. Criminal liability, criminal libelous. How are you not liable for what you said about Tom Cruise? You just can't see it. They can't see, because they're that short-sighted in their thinking. But as long as this judgment can come across Lloyd's lap, yep, you guys are criminally guilty of criminal libelous. Now he, in his mind, has made us come down to his debauched level of thinking. Friends, it's just this painfully obvious. It's this painfully obvious. But yet, some still refuse. Well, like the test of bales, for those of you that refuse, go and cut yourself 1,000 times over and let Lloyd help you. Cut yourself. Scream louder to your God, Lloyd. Scream as loud as you can. Because I guarantee you, friends, once again, you will be disappointed, because it's just this painfully obvious as it is listening to that guy Let, my favorite little rubber-faced clown. It's just this obvious. And Jane Doe, thank you for that comment in private. And I asked you if you would like me to make it public. I have, because I think you're on the right track with that comment. Because Armageddon didn't come yesterday, and ain't coming today, and it ain't coming tomorrow. So they have to align themselves more with mainstream Christianity doctrine, but they can't do it all at once, because that would be, well, too painfully obvious for those sitting in the audience still pretending that the God of the universe is backing their organization, and or his son is back in the organization, even though his son did nothing to stop his father from striking that baby a blow. Guys, I don't know how much longer I can actually do this stuff because it's so painful to watch this level of bullshit being thrown into not the world of Jehovah's, but the world of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that cannot see through what is taking place right now. It's just this painful.